Good morning.
Great rising.
Great rising to you.
I am elated.
Are you elated?
Yes, I'm very elated.
Why
to
are
say
you elated?
We're back.
We are back. Here we is.
And we black, y'all.
Ah.
And we... I ain't gonna do it. That's usually what
You
do.
are elated, aren't
I'm
you?
in a good mood.
You are in a good mood.
Yes. Happy Wednesday to you guys.
Let me gaze at
Oh,
you a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Look at me. Stare at me.
Okay, I'm
You
right.
got me?
Okay,
You
yeah.
see me?
I had a gaze.
Go one camera, two camera.
Okay.
Got you. All right. So we took a poll on Instagram and...
So this was something to spark conversation with you.
Yes.
And at your home and with your friends and with your significant other and with your husband. And we thought about what would get them talking. As you notice, every time we have an episode, we want you guys to comment, like, and subscribe
And
share because we want to get you talking. And so when we did this poll,
yes,
I had people face to face on social media. They wanted to discuss this particular topic, and what I discussed with you, sweetheart, the dearest love of my life ever. Let me gaze at you a little bit.
Coco.
I'm gonna tell you. I think it's time. Society gave our culture a slang, and what society gave our culture and it seemed to stick was baby mama drama. And we're
baby
doing
daddies.
And baby daddies. And I want to look beyond of what society has given our culture, because in other cultures they don't call it that. They call it blended families, they call it step parenting and co-parenting.
Yes.
But in our culture, they have put a stamp on our relationships and how we blend our family as baby mama drama and baby daddy drama.
Right.
And what we're not gonna call it that ever again. Communicate,
Yes.
co-parent, not using children as pawns.
Right.
When the relationship starts somewhere else. And where does that put the new person in the relationship, whether it's man or woman? One of our viewers commented that the parent of the child that's no longer in the relationship always gets a bad rap because they're labeled as bitter. And she said, and you know what? We are sometimes.
Sometimes.
Because there's unresolved trauma,
Pain.
There's unresolved hurt. Another young lady came and discussed in her own experience that the new partner, the new wife or the new husband needs to realize that there's a pecking order.
Crazy.
You know, she's coming from the mother of a child of an old relationship.
Right.
She's been around years. She know the mama. She know the grandma. She's been around Thanksgivings and Christmases. But the new partner is new to all of it, and it's a pecking order. And so,
Wow.
people have a lot of opinions. And then
Yeah.
we spoke to someone from a man's point of view.
Sure did. Shout out to you. You know who you are. Over the phone during the time we were doing the poll, I had the opportunity to ask a question in regards to their position as being a man with a blended family with their child's mother, also having another child with someone else, and how that works out. There was a dominance piece there. There was a place where it was acceptance for the child's benefit, but not acceptance for the relationship between them two. It's more of a commonality. I get you, you care for, I care for, we'll work it out. Don't mess up.
Yeah.
Without saying it,
Right.
but saying it. I want to throw a fun fact out there. Shout out to you again.
Oh, we get a fun fact.
Yeah, I love fun facts.
Come on, sweetie.
16% of families in the United States are blended.
Really?
And that's
16%.
16%. And that's just the census. There are probably a lot of those who are not speaking up or not taking the polls or not even listed in there. But 16% have been captured. Then there's 83% of single mothers or fathers, and majority of them being mothers. So 83% of you mothers out there, you know, commend you, salute to you guys. You're raising our nation. 45% of them are separated.
Wow.
Separated. So you had a relationship, You were married, you were together, you established a family, and then poof, it's out of there. Then 34% of you were in a relationship where they were passing away. They died of natural causes. They were taken back home for whatever the case may be. So that's the 34%. So out of all these numbers, I bring it to you guys to, really take in perspective of what the climate looks like today.
The lowest percentage is the percentage of a blended family.
Yes. But that's, again, only what's being spoke up.
Right.
Because you said it, the women who spoke up and said what their bitterness was, they don't want to talk about this.
They don't. Well, here's the thing.
Or they probably haven't wanted to talk about this.
Here's the thing, and this has been my experience since we've been talking. There's a young lady, and I hope she's watching. She slipped a couple of weeks ago. I understand the conversation. And you said they're not talking about, they're talking about it,
right,
but they're talking about it in the third person. They are not claiming their dysfunction.
Right.
They are not claiming their hurt or their pain. And
Right.
I love her to death, and thank you. But we were sitting there talking, and the conversation went maybe about 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, I don't care what he does. I don't care who he sees and what he does. As long as he doesn't bring my kids around some snap. I said, wait a minute. Your definition? Well, as long as she doesn't dress. Oh, now you're going to dictate who he dates and how she dresses. I mean, well, not me.
I recall this.
But my brother's ex.
Right, I recall this.
You can't clean that up
I was
now.
driving and you brought this up to my attention a few weeks back, and I remember we were talking about that control, that power and control dynamic.
You just said you didn't care who he was dating. Now, she went further. She said, well, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. But what I meant was, as long as he's holding up his responsibilities. And I said, what do you mean, child support? Well, no, like if he comes to pick up the kids on Wednesday,
right,
and all of a sudden he's in a relationship, and now he doesn't come on Wednesday, he comes on Thursday, that's not okay. Now they can't even change the day to pick up the kids, because now the new woman is changing the date.
Right.
That's a little unfair.
What
hurts is
the
kids.
pain. It's the pain. And again, that pain goes to the child now. It's the pain.
So
and that's why we see those numbers. And that's why we see only 16%, because that pain is not allowing them to seek therapy or a professional who's dealt with this type of thing. I did some research before even coming to sit down with this topic. I wanted to make sure that certain questions were asked.
Okay.
So the first question, where I see a lot of failure to progress.
Okay.
And if you've watched our shows, you know I'm really about pro-choice.
You are?
So my first question, have you, in your relationship, taken enough time to grow together? I'll simplify it. Let that roll in the back of your mind. The next one, are your feelings grounded in insecurity or experience or inexperience? Remind yourself, an emotional state of mind without the guidance of logic creates a lot of mayhem, creates a lot of confusion. Are you and the child's parent, yourself, your partner, committed to working this out? And what does that look like?
Yeah, because here we go. We can all say, I'm committed, yes, to work together for the betterment of the child.
Yeah.
And there's lip service, and then there's the way your feet match your lip service.
Right.
Walk what you talk, right? The mother of the child and the ex-husband could not effectively communicate without arguing and threatening and yelling. So she, because she was committed, the new wife, the new significant other, was committed to the betterment of the whole relationship, had to put her pride aside and say, I'll communicate with her.
Right.
So all the communication was between the mother of the child and the new wife.
Right. Missing
that's a commitment.
Yeah, deep.
What are we willing to do?
Right.
Because I know in our situation, it's going to be a lot of swallowing of my pride.
I'm going to speak on it. And there's a lot of maturity that needs to be there. A lot of deep maturity. You might only want a relationship with yourself and your child.
Mm-hmm.
And your partner has nothing to say, nothing to do with it. And that probably works out really good for the the parent and the co-parent situation.
Yes.
But here's the beautiful thing about a heart.
Okay.
A heart and people who care, you cannot not care about my state of mind and my well-being, just as well as I can't not care about your state of mind, your well-being.
You can't.
And for those you don't know, Peanut has many children.
Many blessings.
Many blessings.
Many blessings.
Many blessings. I have sons and daughters, and there's a different dynamic for each parent involved with my children. There has not been that time yet, because there's an ultimate goal and ultimate plan that I've spoken with my children about. They want the best for my life and my situation, which is totally awesome for them. It's like, I couldn't even believe that they would say that. We want you to be happy first. It's not something that's going to be so tough for that relationship to grow when it's time. There's the piece that I know a lot of parents struggle with. Why is she involved? Why is he here? Who said this was cool? Your kids don't have a say-so in my decision making. And this can be from anyone.
Yeah.
Maturity.
Yeah.
I'm circling it right back down to maturity. Please, 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 I'm not telling you what to do, just strongest suggestion. If you're going to move into this, I'm taking this pill as well. Have some maturity, have some clairvoyance, walk into it with prayer first. If you don't pray, walk into it with a sound mind. And I said this earlier, when you speak from your mind, please speak from your heart and your mind together. And you have great insight on this. You have a blended family from a situation that you didn't even know that existed. Was it 5 years now?
I think 6, going on 7.
Right. 7 years. Could you please elaborate? That way I'm not the only story told. No, I'm serious. Like your story of your relationship and how that looked. You said you went all the way out to Atlanta. I could only imagine what that looked, how that even came across to that family and how powerful that was.
It's a little different because we're kind of switching gears from children.
It's relationships.
And so I'm adopted, and I found my biological family about 6 to 7 years ago, and prior to that, there was a lot of questioning still as an adult woman.
Yeah.
A lot of questioning about who am I and who do I come from, and where am I woven? How am I woven together?
Right.
What I just never knew that information, and so I found them on a fluke. I was just on social media, and I put in the last name that I knew.
Yes.
And it was 2 twins popped up, and I think it took all of 7 minutes before they checked with their father and said, "We know who you are, and you're expected to be at the house this Saturday." And I baked my famous 7-Up cake, and I went over to meet my family. And since then, I have never had that alone feeling. I've never had that who do I belong to feeling. They made sure that they gave me pictures and history about who I am.
Right.
And all the stories that were given to me as a child were not true. I come from good stock.
Yes, you do.
I come from awesome stock. And so what happened was, maybe 5 years later, another family member seen them on TV and social media and contacted them the same way I did. And he happens to be my first cousin, and he came out here first.
Yeah.
And he met us first, and then invited us, and we all have went out and to Atlanta to where he is with his family.
Right.
To meet us, and to spend time. I spent a whole weekend. I was a queen for a weekend.
There you go. And the reason I brought it up, I hope I'm not cutting you off.
Absolutely not.
The reason I brought it up is this is what I want all of the experiences for a child to have.
Right.
How
Right.
awesome is that story?
Oh, it is beautiful.
That's a true story.
It puts so much closure,
exactly
so much healing.
right.
I can look at him and see me.
Yeah.
I couldn't see me, and not to discredit the family who adopted me, not to discredit
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I never seen me.
Correct. You didn't see your genetics. Yes.
And so and I'm going to circle back to what we're talking about as far as children are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
when we play our children as pawns in this game of, well, if you don't do this, then you're not going to see my child because you move on with someone else, the only hurt is to the child.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to
The
do.
child that didn't ask to even be here.
Right. And this is why this is important. How many years have went by in your life before that even came together?
41.
Exactly. I have children who are just becoming real teenagers, or
Yes,
they are teenagers.
They are, some of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to be, a wedge in the relationship. And I'm sure those you viewers do not want the same. You don't want your child to be like, really?
Yeah, you didn't care. You weren't here. Why weren't you
Right.
here? And when you only have one parent telling you,
One
well,
side.
he's not here because...
Right. And that's so, I don't want to tell you that you're wrong in this. I'll just say, think that through. When you are answering for a person who's not in the room, you really are making things worse. I'll say it this way. You should not. It's probably better you don't. 83% of you are there. I know it's difficult. I won't act like I don't know it's difficult. But you can't speak for someone else who's not in the room. And that makes things difficult for the future. Because how many times were someone saying the things they were saying and you found out the leaf doesn't even look like this?
It doesn't even. And what I was told as a child and growing up about my biological family, not only wasn't it true, or some of it wasn't true, or some of it was placated, and some of it was fabricated.
Yeah. Wow.
Now listen, I'm not saying you can be the victim and the volunteer at the same time.
Right.
I know that you cannot. But when you are an adolescent and you are told these things, it can determine your footsteps. Who told me you can be a product of your environment only by the stories they tell you?
That's true.
And when I had no firm facts, only what you're telling me,
Right.
it determined my next footsteps.
Correct, because it's programming you.
If I would have knew, I come from good stock and my bloodline is not cursed, and all these, things that were told to me, it could have been a lot different.
It probably would have.
Would I have the character I have today? Probably not.
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean?
As we spoke up, things happen because it's supposed to happen because it's already written ahead of us.
Written.
So we just have to be thankful. I'll wrap it up and just
because it's about you guys.
Yeah, I want you guys to really
please comment.
Check in. Let us know. We want you to check in. Please check in. Let us know. Because I know this is a touchy subject. Shout out to you who let me know that this will be a touchy subject. So here's what I'm gonna wrap it up with.
Okay.
Have respect for yourself, have respect for your home, and have respect for all parties involved. This will secure a foundation. This will create a healthy and stable lifestyle. And of course, this is helpful for the next generation and following.
And so I have some things to add before we go. Really quick, I'll try. I'm long-winded. I think that's why you love me so much. So, our culture, we're not really open to therapy either.
Yeah.
Other cultures get help, and some cultures don't tell nobody what's going on in this house.
Yeah.
Right? I've learned that therapy, sometimes, especially if you're going to work on a blended type of family, you need a third party. Self can't reveal itself to self. So if I sit here by myself and try to problem solve with only one brain, or one bias, two biased brains, self can't reveal itself to self. You need help.
Right.
And and I know we get or therapy has a bad stigma in our community. So it goes back to commitment. What are you willing to commit to? I know when we started and fell madly in love, let me just gaze at you a little bit more because I just love you so much. We had a conversation about what we weren't willing to do because this is going to be a blended family type of issue. And I said very bluntly, I'm not willing to be introduced as a girlfriend. So when we're ready to do something different, then we can cross that road of meeting people when we cross that road. But I refuse. We're too old for that, and our souls are too connected for that.
And to piggyback from it, my eldest child says, I don't want to meet your girlfriend.
See?
I want to meet your spouse.
See?
You deserve it. So you were already walking in the same path that I was hearing all day anyway. My child, my firstborn.
See?
You know? So yeah, that's dope. I'm glad you guys checked in with our poll. That was dope. And we'll continuously have more. Check out our other episodes. I'll put a couple of links in the page.
Our vlog.
Maybe you want to have this as an open discussion with, your friends.
Yeah.
And maybe you can be that person who types in there. So how did you take it when this and this happened? I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah.
And it's all right if it's you. It's all right.
Anonymity.
Faceless. I'll be faceless. And at the end of the day, we want you guys to have a wonderful day.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Good morning.
Great rising.
Great rising. I love you, honey.
I love you.
Let's subscribe, like, share, and comment to the @peanut_and_Cocoa Bean Experience. Till next time.